On the night I married the woman I loved, I believed my life was finally beginning. The castle was filled with music, candles, and smiling faces. But before the night ended, I discovered whispers in dark corridors, secret letters sealed with black wax, and a truth that shattered everything I trusted. My bride, my closest friend, and a masked stranger were all part of a plan that began with my wedding and ended with my downfall. They thought I was naive. They thought I would never fight back. They were wrong. This is the story of how betrayal turned me into something far more dangerous. Crossword's drop of blood crown. I adjusted my doublet nervously and glanced around the grand hall. Is it really this big every time we celebrate? I whispered to myself, trying not to sound foolish. Candles flickered in iron sconces, banners swayed, and music floated through the stone corridors. My heart raced. Today I was marrying Lady Elara. Roderick. You look ready, Sir Aldwin called from the doorway, his usual grin plastered on his face. Do you feel nervous? I forced a laugh. Nervous? Perhaps. Excited? Absolutely. Aldwin clapped me on the shoulder. You'll be fine. Elara is perfect for you. I swallowed hard. I hope I don't ruin everything. You won't, he said. Trust me. Everything will go smoothly. When I finally saw her, standing at the altar with that gentle smile, my chest tightened. Elara, I breathed. You look perfect. She inclined her head slightly, her eyes sparkling. And you look tense, she teased softly. Are you afraid? Maybe a little, I admitted. But I can't believe this day is here. A servant brushed past me and whispered, Sir, beware the curse of the wedding night. I froze. Excuse me? I looked up, but the figure had vanished into the crowd. Roderick, focus, Aldwin whispered sharply. Ignore nonsense like that. You're about to marry the woman you love. I nodded, but a chill crawled up my spine. The ceremony began. Vows were exchanged, the priest murmured blessings, and yet I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in the pit of my stomach. During the toast, I noticed Sir Aldwin exchanging glances with a few of the advisors. One smirked at something whispered into his ear. Another's eyes lingered on Elara a moment too long. My stomach tightened. Aldwin, what's going on? I muttered. He gave a slight shrug, avoiding my gaze. Nothing. Just, enjoy the celebration, my friend. I wanted to believe him, but doubt crept in. Could my closest friend hide such intentions from me? Elara, I said later, softly as we danced, do you feel happy? She tilted her head, her smile fleeting. Of course. Why wouldn't I be? I tried to return the smile, yet my eyes caught a shadow moving in the hallway, a hooded figure watching me intently. My throat tightened. Who is that? Elara followed my gaze. It's probably nothing, Roderick. Just a guest. But the warning lingered in my mind. The stranger's words echoed, curse of the wedding night. I laughed to myself, trying to dismiss it. Superstition, I muttered. Yet even as I held her hand, I couldn't help but wonder if today's joy hid something far darker. I looked at Elara, tried to focus on her warmth and beauty, and told myself, I trust you. I trust him. Nothing could go wrong, could it? The celebration lasted deep into the night. Music faded, guests stumbled away drunk, and the castle slowly grew quiet. I exhaled and loosened my collar. Finally, some peace. Elara stood beside the window, moonlight touching her face. You look exhausted, she said softly. I am, I replied with a tired laugh. A wedding is more tiring than battle training. She smiled faintly. Then you should rest, husband. The word husband made my heart warm. And you? Will you join me? In a moment, she said quickly. I need some air first. I nodded. Don't stay too long. She slipped out of the chamber without another word. I lay down, staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed the stranger's warning. Curse of the wedding night. I shook my head. Just foolish superstition. But minutes passed. Then more. Elara? I called quietly. No answer. I sat up. Strange. I stepped into the hallway. The torches burned low, casting long shadows across the stone walls. Elara? I called again. My voice echoed softly. Then I heard footsteps. Two voices whispered somewhere down the corridor. One of them was hers. I moved slowly, keeping to the shadows. Elara, a familiar voice said. My heart skipped. Aldwin. Everything is moving too quickly, Elara whispered. It must, Aldwin replied. Tonight was necessary. I froze behind a stone pillar. What about Roderick? Elara asked quietly. Aldwin chuckled. He trusts us completely. The word struck me like a blade. Elara hesitated. He's not a bad man. That doesn't matter, Aldwin said sharply. We need his title, his lands, and his influence. My breath caught in my throat. Elara whispered, still? I almost feel guilty. Guilty? Aldwin laughed again. You married him today. By law you now share his power. And if he discovers the truth? She asked. He won't, Aldwin replied calmly. He's too naive. My chest burned. I stepped forward before I could stop myself. Naive? I said. Both of them turned instantly. Roderick. Elara gasped. Aldwin's eyes widened for a brief moment, then quickly returned to calm. What is this? I demanded. What are you two doing here? Aldwin folded his arms. Taking a walk. At midnight? I snapped. Elara stepped toward me. Roderick, please. No, I said, my voice shaking. Explain what I just heard. Aldwin sighed. You misunderstood. I heard my best friend planning something behind my back, I said bitterly. You're tired, he replied. You're imagining things. I know what I heard. Elara grabbed my arm. Roderick, listen to me. Were you lying to me? I whispered. Her silence hurt more than words. Aldwin stepped closer. You should return to your chamber. Why? I asked. So you can continue your secret meeting? His smile faded. Careful, my friend, he said quietly. Careful. I repeated. The hallway suddenly felt colder. Elara spoke softly. Roderick, trust me. I looked between them. My childhood friend. My new wife. Both standing together in the dark. I did trust you, I said. No one spoke. Finally Aldwin broke the silence. Go rest. Tomorrow will make more sense. His voice sounded calm. Too calm. I slowly stepped back, my heart pounding. Fine, I muttered. But as I walked away, one thought echoed loudly in my mind. Something is terribly wrong. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Aldwin's voice again. He trusts us completely. By morning I decided something. If they are hiding the truth, I whispered to myself, then I will find it. I stepped into the hallway and stopped a passing servant. You there? Thomas, isn't it? Yes, my lord, he replied nervously. Did you see Lady Elara last night? He hesitated. I might have. Might have. I leaned closer. Speak clearly. I saw her walking toward the West Tower, he whispered. The West Tower? I frowned. At that hour? Yes, my lord. I dismissed him with a wave, but suspicion tightened inside me. Later that afternoon I called another servant. Mira, come here. Yes, Lord Roderick, she said quietly. You clean Lady Elara's chambers, correct? Yes. Have you noticed anything unusual? She lowered her voice. Letters, my lord. My chest stiffened. What letters? I don't know what they say, she replied, but they arrive often, sealed with black wax. Where are they kept? In a small chest near her writing desk. I nodded slowly. Thank you. Forget this conversation happened. Yes, my lord. That evening I slipped quietly into Elara's chamber. My hands trembled as I opened the chest. Inside were folded letters. I broke one seal and read quickly. The marriage was necessary. Once the title is secured, we move forward. My pulse raced. Another letter. Roderick suspects nothing. Continue the plan. I slammed the chest shut. So it's true, I muttered. I was a pawn. Footsteps echoed nearby. I quickly hid behind a curtain. Elara entered the room. But she wasn't alone. A tall man followed her, wearing a dark cloak and a silver mask. My stomach dropped. Elara, the masked man said, his voice calm. Has everything gone according to plan? Yes, she replied softly. And your husband? He believes nothing. My hands clenched. The masked man chuckled. Good. Lord Roderick's lands will soon belong to us. Elara hesitated. He's beginning to ask questions. Then keep him distracted, the man said coldly. Your charm should be enough. And if it isn't, she asked quietly, then Aldwin will handle it. My heart pounded so loudly I feared they would hear it. Elara sighed. I didn't think it would feel like this. Regret? The masked man asked. Perhaps. Forget regret, he replied. Power matters more. Silence filled the room. Finally Elara spoke again. When will everything be finished? Soon, he said. Once Roderick signs the inheritance documents. I nearly stepped out right then. But I forced myself to stay still. The masked man continued, after that he becomes unnecessary. My blood ran cold. Elara didn't answer. After a moment the masked man turned toward the door. Prepare yourself. Tomorrow night we meet again. They left together. I stepped out from behind the curtain slowly. My hands shook. Aldwin, Elara, and whoever that masked snake is, I whispered. My chest burned with anger. They think I'm blind. I stared at the letters again. No, I said quietly. I won't run. I folded one letter carefully and slipped it into my pocket. If they want a game, I muttered, my voice hardening, then I'll play it better than they ever expected. For the first time since the wedding, my fear began turning into something colder. Resolve. I stared at the stolen letter in my chamber and whispered to myself, they think I'm weak. Good. Let them believe it. The next morning I summoned someone I trusted more than anyone left in this castle. Sir Calder, I said as he entered. My lord, he replied, bowing slightly. You asked for me. I need honesty, I told him quietly. No loyalty to titles. Only loyalty to truth. He frowned. That sounds serious. It is, I said, handing him the letter. He read it slowly. His jaw tightened. Who else knows? He asked. Only me, I replied. And now you. Sir Calder looked straight into my eyes. You believe Lady Elara and Sir Aldwin are plotting against you. I don't believe, I said bitterly. I know. He folded the letter carefully. Then why are they still walking freely? Because, I said calmly, I want to see the full trap before I destroy it. Calder nodded slowly. Good. That means you're thinking like a lord. I leaned forward. Can I trust you? You saved my life in the Northern War, he replied. My sword belongs to you. Good, I said. Then help me watch them. Later that day I found Lady Marwen in the servant corridor. Lady Marwen, I said quietly. She jumped slightly. My lord, did I do something wrong? No, I replied. I need your help. My help? She asked nervously. You work near Elara's chambers, I said. You hear things. She hesitated. I won't punish you, I added gently. But I need the truth. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They meet often. Who? Lady Elara, Sir Aldwin, and sometimes a masked man. I know, I said quietly. Her eyes widened. You know? Yes. But I need details. They talk about documents, she said. Inheritance papers. I forced a calm smile. Interesting. She looked worried. My lord, are you in danger? Perhaps, I replied. Her voice shook. Then why not confront them? Because, I said slowly, I want them to believe they've already won. She nodded slowly. What do you want me to do? Listen, I said. Remember everything. I will. That night I met Calder again in the training yard. You're late, he said. I was thinking, I replied. Thinking about revenge? Thinking about justice, I corrected. He handed me a practice sword. Then show me you're ready. Steel clashed. Again. And again. Calder grinned. You're fighting harder tonight. I'm angry, I admitted. Good, he said. But anger alone won't win. What will? I asked. Patience. I lowered the blade and sighed. Part of me wants to storm into their room and end it. And the wiser part? He asked. Wants to watch them fall slowly. Calder nodded approvingly. That's the lord I remember. I wiped sweat from my face. Elara will ask me to sign inheritance documents soon, I said. And will you? He asked. I smiled faintly. Yes. Calder looked surprised. You'll give them what they want? No, I said calmly. I'll give them what they think they want. He laughed quietly. Now I see the plan forming. I stared into the dark courtyard. Aldwin once called me naive, I muttered. And now? Calder asked. Now, I said slowly, I'm the one setting the trap. For the first time since my wedding night, I felt something new growing inside me. Control. I stood at the long table in the council chamber and waited. The torches crackled softly. My hands rested on the documents they wanted so badly. I whispered to myself, let the show begin. The door opened. Elara walked in first. Roderick, she said gently, you wish to see us? Aldwin followed behind her with a confident smile. You look serious, my friend. I am, I replied. Elara stepped closer to the table. Are those the inheritance papers? Yes, I said calmly. Aldwin chuckled. Then today becomes a very productive day. I watched their faces carefully. Before I sign anything, I want witnesses. Aldwin raised an eyebrow. Witnesses? Yes, I said. A lord must follow proper law. The doors opened again. Sir Calder entered with several knights and council advisors. Aldwin frowned slightly. This seems unnecessary. Is it? I asked quietly. Elara looked between us. Roderick, what is happening? I lifted one folded letter from the table. Perhaps, I said slowly, this will explain it. Aldwin's smile faded. What is that? A letter, I replied, opening it. Written in black wax. Elara's face paled. I read aloud. The marriage was necessary. Once the title is secured, we move forward. Silence filled the chamber. Aldwin stepped forward quickly. Where did you get that? Your mistake, I said. Elara grabbed my arm. Roderick, please listen. Oh, I listened, I interrupted. I listened in the West Tower. I listened in your chamber. Aldwin's voice hardened. You were spying on us? I was learning the truth, I replied. Sir Calder crossed his arms. And the truth is clear. Aldwin turned toward him. Stay out of this. No, I said firmly. He stays. I placed another letter on the table. And this one says, Roderick suspects nothing. Elara whispered, Roderick, I can explain. Explain what? I demanded. The lies? The manipulation. Tears filled her eyes. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Aldwin scoffed. Stop begging. I looked at him slowly. You called me naive. You were, he replied coldly. Perhaps, I said. I pulled the wedding ring from my finger and held it up. This ring once meant trust. Elara whispered, please don't do this. I dropped the ring onto the stone floor. It cracked sharply against the ground. That sound, I said quietly, is the end of your lies. Aldwin clenched his fists. You think this proves anything? Sir Calder stepped forward. The council has already seen the evidence. The advisors nodded grimly. Elara's voice trembled. Roderick, I never meant to hurt you. You married me to steal my lands, I replied. She shook her head desperately. At first, yes, but I started to care. Aldwin laughed bitterly. Don't embarrass yourself. I turned to him. And you? What about me? He said. You were my brother, I said quietly. He shrugged. Power matters more than friendship. I nodded slowly. Guards, Sir Calder ordered. 2 knights stepped forward. Aldwin glared at me. This isn't over. It is, I replied calmly. They seized his arms. Elara collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Roderick, please forgive me. I looked at her for a long moment. My chest felt heavy. I loved you, I said softly. Her sobbing grew louder. But love built on lies cannot survive. She whispered, I was wrong. Yes, I replied quietly. Sir Calder placed a blood-stained letter onto the table. This one mentions poisoning. Gasps echoed through the room. I stared at Aldwin. So that was the final plan? He smirked. Eventually. I shook my head slowly. Take them away, I said. The guards dragged Aldwin toward the door. Elara looked back at me with broken eyes. Roderick, please? But I didn't answer. When the doors finally closed, silence filled the chamber. Sir Calder spoke quietly. Justice has been done. I looked down at the shattered ring. Yes, I said slowly. But the cost was everything. The castle felt quieter than ever. I walked slowly through the empty hall and whispered to myself, so this is what victory feels like. It didn't feel like victory. Sir Calder approached from the far corridor. You shouldn't wander alone tonight. I needed silence, I replied. He studied my face. Are you regretting what happened? No, I said firmly. Justice was necessary. Then why do you look like a man who lost something? I sighed. Because I did. Calder nodded slowly. Trust. Yes, I murmured. We walked together for a moment before he stopped. The council is waiting for your decision. My decision? I asked. About Elara and Aldwin. I leaned against the stone wall. What do they suggest? Aldwin faces prison. Elara faces exile. I closed my eyes briefly. Exile? Calder watched me carefully. Do you wish something different? No, I said quietly. That is fair. He placed a hand on my shoulder. You've changed, Roderick. Have I? You speak like a ruler now. I laughed bitterly. Pain teaches quickly. He nodded once and left me alone again. As I continued walking, Mira appeared near the stairway. My lord, she said softly. Mira, I replied. You helped me more than you realize. She lowered her head. I only told the truth. Many people choose silence instead, I said. Her voice trembled. Will the castle be safe now? I thought for a moment. Yes, I said finally. Safer than before. She smiled faintly and walked away. Further down the hall I found Thomas polishing armor. He stood quickly. My lord. Relax, I said with a small smile. You're not in trouble. He looked relieved. Everyone is talking about what happened. I'm sure they are. Some say you were too harsh, he admitted carefully. And others? I asked. They say you were merciful. I nodded slowly. Both may be true. Thomas hesitated. Do you still trust anyone, my lord? The question hit deeper than I expected. Yes, I answered after a moment. But trust must be earned now. He bowed slightly. That sounds wise. When he left, I stepped onto the balcony overlooking the dark courtyard. The wind was cold. I whispered to myself, a week ago I believed love would guide my future. Now the castle felt different. Not hostile. Just honest. Sir Calder returned quietly. The council has accepted your decision. And Elara? I asked. She leaves at sunrise. I gripped the stone railing. Good. Calder studied me again. Do you want to see her before she goes? I thought about it. Then I shook my head. No. Why? He asked gently. Because the man who loved her no longer exists. He nodded slowly. What will you do now? He asked. I looked across the silent castle grounds. I will rule, I said calmly. And I will remember. Remember what? Calder asked. That trust is precious, I replied. And betrayal is unforgettable. He smiled faintly. Then the kingdom will be in strong hands. As he walked away, I whispered one final thought to the night. I entered this marriage as a naive man. My voice grew quieter. But I walk away from it as something far stronger. Morning arrived quietly. I sat alone in the council chamber, staring at the broken wedding ring resting on the table. I whispered to myself, so this is how it ends. Sir Calder entered slowly. The carriage is ready. For Elara? I asked. Yes. I nodded once. Then it is finished. Calder stepped closer to the table. You're holding the ring again. I turned it between my fingers. Strange, isn't it? What is? Something so small carried so many lies. He crossed his arms. You could throw it away. Perhaps, I said quietly. But I want to remember. Remember the pain? He asked. Yes. He studied me carefully. Pain can make a man bitter. It can, I agreed. And you? I will let it make me wiser. Calder gave a faint smile. That sounds like a king speaking. I laughed softly. A king born from mistakes. He stepped toward the door. The council waits for you. I'll come soon, I replied. When he left, I picked up one final letter from the table. The black wax seal was cracked. I read the words again. Roderick suspects nothing. I shook my head slowly. You were wrong. I folded the letter carefully and placed it beside the broken ring. The chamber door opened quietly again. Mira stepped inside. My lord, the carriage has left. I took a slow breath. Then Lady Elara is gone. Yes. Did she say anything? She asked me to give you a message. I looked up. What message? Mira hesitated before speaking. She said, she hopes one day you can forget her. A long silence filled the room. Finally I said, tell her this if our paths ever cross again. Mira waited. I will not forget, I said calmly. But I will move forward. She bowed slightly. Yes, my lord. After she left, I stood and looked around the chamber. The castle felt different now. Stronger. Harder. Once I believed love would rule this place, I whispered. I placed the broken ring into a small wooden box. Now wisdom will. Sir Calder's voice echoed from the hallway. Roderick, the council grows impatient. I'm coming, I replied. I closed the box slowly. My voice dropped to a quiet vow. I trusted blindly once. I stepped toward the door. Never again. As the chamber doors opened, I lifted my head and walked forward. Not as the naive groom I once was, but as the man betrayal had forged.